It's a pretty exciting day. Hunting season's over and I've taken a little bit of R&R. Now I'm gonna start hitting the indoor range and starting my winter training. This bow is probably gonna be spending quite a bit of time with me once again this year. I shot it last year a lot at TAC, loved it. But it's been sitting over in the corner lonely while I've been using my hunting bow. So now it's time to get this baby going again for the target season or my training season, honestly a reset season. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this is I'm honestly just going to pick this thing up. I'm going to assess my string and cable settling or stretching or whatever you want to call it, because I shot it a lot last year. Honestly, I didn't play with it much at the end of the year. I just kind of powered through and I didn't want to change anything that late in the game. I wanted to just ride it out. So now I'm going to pick it up and I'm just going to really look at this thing and check a few things over. First thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at my cam lean, because as these yokes do stretch, that can change your cam lean. So just being able to put a twist on one side or the other to get this cam straight, it's kind of going that direction a little bit, which means I need to just add some twist to this side and I'll pull that straight, which that side has the most torque because the cables are being pulled over that way. So bottom left, I'm gonna add some twists. Looking at the top here, honestly, looking down at this way, top left as well, I'm gonna need to put some twists here. So bottom left, and then when I'm at the press up here, top left. So I'm going to add a few twists to each one of those and get that right. The other thing I'll look at is these little dots here on these particular cams. A lot of companies have different reference points, but these dots are supposed to be in line with the cable. So that's kind of just a quick reference guide that we put on there. Both of those look good. Depending on how much settling or anything you think your string might have had, sometimes even checking the brace. That way if the brace is kind of shortened up, it means like everything's stretched out and those limbs have gotten straighter and the braces got shorter. So you know, adding some twist to everything evenly can get that back into place. I'm actually in a pretty good place. I just want to straighten up these cams. That'll be important for making sure I'm hitting the center of my draw stops. And I also need to check the timing of the bow. So as I pull this back and this cable comes around, I want to make sure that this top stop is touching at the same time as that bottom stop. And it's not bad. The bottom needs a little adjustment. It's kind of bouncing off. So the bottom isn't touching when the top is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one twist to that top in addition to what I'm going to do for these cams. So put the bow in the press. This is one of the nice things about having a yoke system on any compound bow, because it does give you quick and easy adjustment options for that. So just based on that, it's not a lot of lean. I'm going to do 2 full twists in that side, and then let me just take one more look here. Yeah, and I'll do 2 full twists on the bottom left as well. So my peep's still in a pretty good shape. And again, my bottom cam was not touching when the top was, so I'm going to add that one twist to the top now, which should help the timing issue. And then I'm going to pull strings. If you have any type of a little clamp system, like anything like that, is so handy on a press, because when you take these cables off, you can kind of just clip them on there so that they're not losing their twists. It's very helpful not to lose your twists. So I'm going to pull this off, and again I'm going to take this one off right here, and I'm just going to add, looking at I'm going to add one. Honestly, I'm going to add one twist to the one side. This is getting pretty twisted up, so I don't want to over twist it, and I'm just going to take one twist out of the opposite side, which is a lot like adding two twists to the side that I wanted to balance it up on. Make sure you're taking very special attention and care, making sure that those cables are fully in their correct positions. I'm going to take that cable off, hook my cable up. I'm going to do the same with the string. Alright, so the top one has been adjusted. Boom. And before I pull this back, I'll double check it one more time. So I'm going to remove this string. Here's a pretty important tip too. When you take this string off, I back this out and then I kind of bring it back to the shape that it would be. You can see it's in that shape without doing any twists, because if we put a twist in, our peep rotation could change. If we take a twist out, our peep rotation could change. So I'm literally removing this and letting it curl back up how it was, and I honestly just kind of stow mine right here. My little MKCs kind of hold things in place. And here's the cable. Put that guy right there as well. And then now I'm going to undo this cam, and I'm going to put these, there we go. I'm actually going to do one. I'm going to add one to the one side, and just the way these are settled in, I'm going to take one out of the other side. So actually, that side doesn't have much twist to take out, so I will add one more to this side, like that. Okay. I'm going to make sure these things get wound up correctly. It's really easy on these cams if you take the string and the cable off, because then you can spin the cam, so you can roll these cables up easily rather than trying to manually wrap them all the way around. I'm going to put that cable on there, which will hold that, and I'm going to put this string back on. Okay, back over here to this side, make sure these all go back in the track. Tell you what, never thought my eyes would become blurry, but they have. Son of a gun. Okay, that's that. Let this out. I'm going to hook my roller guard back up, and one last thing I'm going to do right here, this is the knot for my rest, and normally I like it when this knot, right now it's pointing that way, so it's threading in that way and it's pointing towards the bow, the tail end. I don't personally like it this way, because as you draw back it has to pull it then around, so it's like kind of adding a twist. So I always like to kind of pay attention to where your cable's naturally sitting and bring your any type of cable driven arrow rest. I personally like to bring it in from the bottom like this, so that it's not twisting that as you draw back. These little tune-ups are so easy to do, and they're so important as well, because strings and cables are a wearable item. I mean, they just are. There it is. Timing is perfect. And honestly, looking down, when I draw this back and my hand's in a neutral position, I'm looking at where this string is tracking down that cam, and it is tracking perfectly down the center. And as my cables come around, my cables are touching the dead center of that cable post. So that's just telling me the wheel isn't leaned to one side or another. And I can also tell by the feel it doesn't have that little bit of sponge on the back. I've got the timing perfect again as well. The peep rotation is a little bit off. Again, it's been sitting. So I'm going to go ahead and add a twist to this string. Flip that peep around. I certainly could take half a twist out and get it to come back around, but since everything is stretching and you're doing like a beginning of the year maintenance, I like to add the twists rather than take twists out of things if I can help it, especially on the string, because having an extra turn on your string actually tightens your servings. If your servings were put on the right way, it will tighten that serving that is put in the correct direction. So it kind of tightens everything up, not just the peep. Now, the reason I tie my peeps the way that I tie my peeps is because it's very common that you add twists to a string. As it stretches, you're going to have to add twists, which I just did. One twist kind of turned it a 1/4 degree, but you can see now that I've turned it, my peep's actually backwards. So if I didn't tie my peep this way and I had fully tied that peep all the way in and wrapped it all the way around, I would have to take all that off to get my peep in this position, or I would have to actually add double the amount of twist that I truly need, which then would make me have to adjust my cables to get my specs right. So this way I'm able to put one twist in that string. This peep is now facing the wrong direction, but since I tie it the way I do and I have this one safety loop around it like this, I can safely remove this right here, can safely remove that safety loop. Then I can flip my peep around just like this, and so right there my peep is actually right where I need it to be. You can see it's correct. And so now the easy thing to do is just to take one little piece of this, if I have a lighter, take one little piece of this and I will tie this back in, so just in case there was ever an accidental firing without an arrow. And so I actually will start that first tie down there on the bottom of the peep like that. And I'll tie one square knot on top. And boom, there's a square knot. So now I'll just burn those two ends. I'll bring my D-loop back around to the position. The D-loop actually looks really good, so I'm not going to change it. I'll seat that back in position, but now my peep is back straight. I didn't have to undo my peep servings. My cams are straight, and my bow's in time. I'm good to go to the range and start working on getting, I guess, all the technique and tune twisted back into myself now too.